Welcome all to week 11, Achieving Results. Sit back, relax and enjoy the final presentation for this unit on leading people and organisations from CLN Group 5. In the next 20 minutes we will provide you an overview of the topic and intend to leave you armed with information to plan your pathway to success and achieving results. To help us achieve this, we will firstly take you through a summary of the reading we have assumed you have completed prior to viewing this presentation. Secondly, we will highlight one of 6 case studies undertaken by the group that links a relevant workplace example to the conceptual issues identified. Thirdly, we will present a sample of the weaknesses we considered when consolidating the concepts. And finally, we will provide some discussion of our opinions as to how you can achieve results by answering the question, so what? Ultimately, we provide you today with belief. Belief to trust yourself, your systems and your strengths. You can and will achieve results. To supplement your learning, we have authored an Achieving Results toolkit. This toolkit is intended to be a quick reference guide to help you in the practical sense to apply the lessons learnt from our presentation. It will allow you to drill quickly down into the theories and information you want, because we just couldn't capture all of the information that we wanted to communicate into 20 minutes. The information contained within the toolkit we believe to be constructive and provides you with triggers on the key concepts we have covered. It will also provide you with 6 practical examples from the CLN. It provides you with a thought-provoking gap analysis. It provides you with practical tools to achieve results in many scenarios by detailing answers to the so what question. This presentation can only cover a small percentage of the information it contains, and this toolkit will promote the core competency of thinking critically, and we know it will never be far from your mind's eye as you progress through your career. We hope that you enjoy it now and for a long time to come. As we stated in the introduction, we're only going to refer very briefly to the theories and concepts discussed this week. Risking oversimplification, Bowman and Deal require us to understand the sources of power and conflict in organisations, as well as requiring us to master the politics of getting ahead. Coors and Posner ask us to imagine the possibilities, find a common purpose, and reflect to take action. The prescribed text from Quinn et al. Teaches us to understand the sources of power, create and lift our networks, and use appropriate power and influence strategies at 3 levels: the organisation, the team or group, and at personal levels. In the article Power Play, we are told performance alone will not be sufficient to achieve results, and that using power can improve our health and wealth should we use it effectively. Our studies then took us through the concept of social intelligence and informed us to acquire empathy, attunement and organisational awareness, and that we should use influence to develop others and use teamwork to achieve results. Finally, in 2005, John Hamm wrote that leaders must manage 5 messages, which was analogised as 5 levers to drive a locomotive. We'll discuss those in more detail later. In summary, there was a focus throughout the theories of power, influence and communication. Together, they covered where power comes from, how we can get it, how we can keep it, how we should use it, and how we can use it. In addition to the reading we have undertaken this week, a recent article in April's Harvard Business Review warranted inclusion in this presentation. This short case study provided insight into one of the greatest modern business minds. Steve Jobs was a visionary, a leader and an innovator that will be remembered in years to come alongside the great inventors of our time. The article focuses on 14 areas that the author considers through his autobiography of Jobs. A quick look through those 14 icons on the screen clearly demonstrate the principles Jobs applied in achieving results. And we think they're closely aligned to the concepts presented moments ago. In particular, we would draw your attention to the topics of engaging face-to-face, providing focus, and Jobs' now infamous line, "Stay hungry and stay foolish." The purpose of the case study on the next slide is to provide a real-world example to talk through the application of the concepts in the workplace. All members of the CLN have completed a case study for you to refer to in the supporting toolkit, but for the purposes of strictly sticking to the 20 minutes allocated, we have elected to present only one. The CLN interviewed Scott in relation to his current position and how he has achieved results. We think this particular case study emphasises the Bowman and Deal concepts in their text on power, conflict and coalition, while highlighting political considerations as well as demonstrating honest reflection. Bearing and Power Transmission Solutions is a 44-branch national distributor of industrial engineered products. Scott was a sales representative at another company prior to taking the position as state manager for Western Australia, with no formal training in management and minimal inner working knowledge of the business. The business had had 5 managers in 6 years. It was in loss regularly and was being mauled by key stakeholders over its performance in all areas: sales, contracts, supply, to name a few. Scott set about restaffing, rebadging, building confidence, reinvesting in facilities, providing direction and support, while empowering people to achieve their goals in a really tough HR market. The journey started 7 years ago, and the performance issues are a distant memory. The state was now leading the way in many KPIs nationally, not least of all net operating profit. Scott was convinced he was doing a good job, and at the time Scott took over, that's what all the fuss was about: achieving results. "So where's the promotion?" he asked. While studying for his MBA, Scott was able to reflect on the things that he had been doing well, and not so well, prior to developing a better theoretical understanding of what he had been doing daily. One of the most significant topics that resonated with Scott was the study into power, conflict and coalition. Scott's reflection on the situation highlighted a possible lack of awareness of the well-being of his team. Whilst attempting to insulate his team from the corridors of power, Scott's single-mindedness in resisting a grab for control locally made him a battering ram for any individual who couldn't get their agenda through his state. As a result, the state became isolated within the wider BSC coalition and was perceived as non-contributory, selfish or controlling, and against the general well-being of the greater cause. It made it us against them, probably not uncommon in a national arena, I imagine, says Scott of the situation. My observation is that it hasn't stopped our local team achieving results. The team is engaged in the execution of the local vision, but I can't help reflect that if I had better understood political balance in a national business, how much further down the road could we be, and how much time and energy could we have saved? I was the bare-knuckle guy getting stuff done, not with my team, but certainly with a competing agenda. What I found with each battle is that I personally became fatigued, my vision impaired, and unbeknown to me, I built a reputation for myself. I have no doubt I have stumbled politically. Scott is clearly achieving results, so where's his promotion? Well, if Scott had better understood the 5 key points of power, conflict and coalition before going into the role, could it have helped? I believe so, says Scott, and the first 2 to 3 years particularly could have been significantly more productive for the business, my team and my own personal development. And that was a driving force in why I took over the role in the first place. As part of the Achieving Results support tool, Scott has offered a basic roadmap for consideration in the So What tab. Scott would also recommend and encourage taking the Political Skill Inventory Test for personal reflection in Political Skill at Work by Gerald R. Ferris. We now move quickly on to the weaknesses part of the presentation. Like most theories and concepts, they are just that, theories and concepts. They are the posturing of educated individuals blessed with time to study, gather data, analyse and reflect on the lessons of others. Often, individual theories present a balanced opinion of the author. Considered together, concepts often adequately cover topic areas such that the reader is informed so that they can make progress. Without time, resources and the power to fully consider all the written information on the subject, the CLN has highlighted 4 areas across this subject that we believe prompt critical thinking from you. Whilst we don't profess to have all the answers, and we are sure information exists on the matters we raise, we think these areas are insufficiently discussed, especially in practical application. 2 of the 4 areas available in the toolkit are discussed next in this presentation. The first area for thought is the practical elements of failure. Aside from the failure of leaders, in essence what we mean is that it doesn't matter how good you are as a leader, you won't achieve anything if you fail in some of the more process or professional tasks of achieving results. For example, if you fail to communicate to all stakeholders the right information at the right time in accordance with a detailed yet flexible plan, you're bound to fail. In addition, if you can't operationalise your vision, or you don't recognise critical junctions and events in the plan, you'll likewise fail. To this end, we believe there are assumptions that the authors have made around a focus on leadership. We believe management is equally as important in achieving results. In addition, under the heading of practical matters, we considered that as individuals we need to work on our strengths before our weaknesses. Again, we'll risk oversimplification here, but suffice to say that we're all different in our leadership styles and our management styles, and we cannot all be perfect leader-managers. Our strengths are what separate us out from each other, and we should emphasise them. We also wanted to briefly highlight the importance of empowering your team. This is arguably covered in other weeks of our study, so it doesn't feature in the toolkit, but suffice to say that as individuals, we cannot be omnipotent or omniscient, such that synergies found through establishing high-performing teams will always provide a strong basis for achieving results. Whilst social intelligence is discussed in this week's readings, there is a concept also introduced to us by Daniel Goleman of emotional intelligence, or EQ. This concept, whilst addressed in previous weeks of the course, is arguably not explicitly covered this week in the context of achieving results. We discussed the deficiency such that it warranted inclusion if presented as an element of self-assessment and self-awareness. The key points of bias listed on the screen here are worth considering as you reflect on your circumstances, such that it is easy for us to see things from our point of view, even justifying actions to ourselves after the event. We worry about the future, ruminate about the past we recall, and worry about what others did, thought, or might do. In addition, we have conflicting images where we imagine ourselves as similar to people in similar groups and different from others. The in-group dissociates from the out-group. We're now going to ask you to move on to part 2 of this presentation on YouTube. The link has been provided to you in the description of this post. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you momentarily.